This conference will now be recorded. This conference is no longer being recorded. This conference will now be recorded.
Testing, testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Wow, that's hot. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Can you hear me? Yep. All right. Yeah, do you think?
We are
Call the
ready.
Board of Supervisors meeting to order. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. We do have a quorum. We do need to adopt an agenda. Anybody have anything we need to add to the agenda this evening?
Staff
Anything
does
down
not, Mr. Chairman.
there? Anything, anybody? All right, what would y'all like to do?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. As always, public comment. Public comment. I told them that I feel the Christmas spirit in here, so we're gonna keep this short and sweet this afternoon. All right, let's move on. Constitutional officers, county departments, committees, and organizations. Gary, let's start.
Mr. Chairman, before he starts, just a point of privilege. When you do get to committees, organizations, and you wish to call on VDOT, Ms. Shepherd had childcare, so she couldn't be here in person, but she is online. So when you get to that portion of the meeting, sir. Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Jerry, please.
It's not working. There it is. We're kind of busy right now putting up Christmas lights, getting ready for the S'mores with Santa event this Saturday at 5. Also, there'll be a light show that starts after that, and that will run through January 2nd. Winter sports are starting up. We have 450 registrants for that. Also, our Hometown Heroes voting will start on December 15th, and the tickets to the gala, will be on sale, and that's on February 15th. That's all I got.
Anybody have any questions for Jerry? Jerry, thank you. Ms. Warren?
Good evening. Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. The pre-audit for FY24 is going well. We've been going through all the data calls that they have for the pre-audit team. The full audit is beginning next week, as long as everything gets finalized this week with the team for the pre-audit, and we're expected to be final in January on the audit. We will post a delay notice to the public by the deadline, announcing that it's going to be delayed in the estimated date. We are also beginning FY26 budget season. After the budget calendar is reviewed and adopted, we'll start full force into that, hopefully starting next week. Unless you have any questions, those are my two big items.
Do you have any questions for Mrs. Warren?
So notices haven't gone out to outside agencies or anything yet, right?
Not yet.
Okay.
The plan was for next week to get everything out, since we have a little more time this year.
Stuff due back to you by about the 10th of January or so, estimated? All right.
And we could even have it go a little bit longer for them if we needed to, a little bit more time, so.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Tilly.
Hello.
Howdy.
It's evaluation time, so department heads have until December the 31st to get those to me. I am working with Alan to create like a platform for like new hire paperwork and benefit orientation to make it kind of easier instead of printing out all these pieces of paper and things like that. So it can be like an online thing, creating forms for it to be easily filled out and things like that. And then at the end of the month, working with Tyler on training, year-end training to learn how to do that and things like that in Tyler. And that is it.
Any questions for Tilly? like the onboarding packet. That's a good direction to go, make things easier. Annette?
Good evening. I don't have a lot to report for November, just our numbers. We took in 18 strays, 13 owner surrenders. We transferred 5 cats in from Madison community cats. They've all been adopted. Animal control seized 2 donkeys and 1 goat. They were never housed at the shelter. They've all been adopted. We have 11 reclaims, 25 adoptions, and 9 transferred to rescue. In the shelter at the moment, we have 4 cats, 6 dogs, 4 of which are just waiting to go home.
Good. Any questions for Annette? Thank you, Annette. Mr. Weaver?
Good afternoon. 3 quick things. Progress is being made. We filled our 2 vacant spots. Monday, they'll start on the 16th. Academy starts in January. Hopefully by July, we'll have them out and about. By August, we'll be on the road. So we should be up full steam by that
Both
time.
of them are starting new.
Both, yes, that's
All right,
correct.
there you go.
Yeah. Our video, speed video, we had a discussion last week. Their rep has sent information to their main office, and he's trying to get a price sheet on the lights and whatever else we talked about, and hopefully I'll hear about that either before or right after Christmas. Update on our new car that we purchased July. We're getting it back tomorrow. That'll be the 5th time it's been in Sheehy, so I don't recommend anybody buying a car from Sheehy right now. So we still haven't got it on the road, but it's coming back tomorrow. We will see. So, any questions from the board?
Yeah, what issues have you had with your car?
Battery won't stay charged.
It's challenging.
Yeah, they had to put a top clip on. What about it? I'm not an auto person.
I
What
believe
about
this
it?
was the new one, Sheriff. They were supposed to send you a patrol car, but they sent you in like just a regular
That's correct.
Explorer that needed to be outfitted correctly.
Yeah.
Good. Anybody have any other questions from the sheriff?
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner?
Good afternoon. Yeah, they're finishing up the field work for the reassessment. I think they're just at 100 parcels or less to finish the field work up. And of course, they'll have to go back and hit any new construction, pick that up, run some calculative numbers to see if they're hitting their mark as far as comparing to sales and that sort of thing. So we should be able to get some type of information out to the public mid-January on, what the numbers may look like. And then, of course, value change notice will go out about that same time. And each taxpayer would have the right to appeal to the assessors and carry forward, moving on with the border equalization after that. I think they did training, or many of them did training last week. And that's a good update on the reassessments. Anybody have any questions on that?
It's a quick question in case we have any of our constituents ask us. When they're reappraised, and we're looking at probably a pretty big jump this time,
Sure.
is it based on the comps around their neighborhood? And does it done for everybody that way?
It can get, that's specific. I mean, theoretically, that's right. It's similar to a fee assessment or fee appraisal, but it's typically a little broader, painted with a bigger, broader brush. But yeah, they are looking at surrounding sales and sales throughout the county and comping it with those.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else, anything for the commissioner? Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Gavin, I assume you're doing 2 reports?
I am.
There you
I
go.
am. I'll start with the EMS. Good evening, everyone. Had 171 calls for service in November. Our average response time remains at 10, so we're keeping the metric. We had a total of 8 mutual aid requests from neighboring counties, of which we responded to 5 of those. The no units available occurred 11 times during the month. Max time was about 3 hours. The minimum time was 21 seconds. We averaged about 1 hour and 7 seconds for our NUAs, for a total of 12 hours and 24 minutes of NUA for the month. Right now, on terms of personnel, EMS has 1 full-time EMT vacancy. We've got a couple people we're looking at right now that look promising. We had one standby event at Madison County football, and that was on 11/8. And that's the EMS report. Any questions for EMS?
Anybody? Please.
Okay. Switching to emergency management, we'll be talking about this later in the agenda, but the 2024 EOP update is complete and ready for adoption by the board should you choose to do so. Again, we'll be covering that later in the agenda. The middle school generator project, they are looking for delivery of the generator, should be there on 12/18. I spoke with Stacy today. They're finishing the pad for it. It'll probably just be some connecting and what have you once it arrives. I think all the other work is done, and they're looking at towards the end of January for that project to be complete and closed out. And then exercises, Brian and I have talked a little bit, we'd like to do in the first quarter next year, maybe towards the end of that, to do a tabletop exercise for EOC operations. And then get as many people involved in that, just in case we were to ever have a major event, develop some muscle memory in the meantime. And that's all I have. Any questions?
Anybody? Have we received reimbursement from the fires?
Partial, I believe. I would have to dig into nothing at all. I thought we got about 2/3 of that already, but yeah, there's still part of it I'm working on closing out. Now that the EOP is done, I'll be able to devote my attention to that and get that completed, but there's no time limit on that, so we're still in good shape. I would have liked to have had it done before now, but bringing on the new protocols and narcotic system and all that, which went live today, by the way, and is working fine so far. So fingers crossed.
Any questions for Gab? Please.
No, I just had one shout out to me last week about what a good job EMS did responding to their need and how the 911 dispatchers were so calm and they went to Culpeper and what a good hospital Culpeper was. It's always nice to hear that. So
yeah, and I know Noah's shared it with the board before. We're getting a record number of cards and thank you cards, people stopping by the office to thank us for what our people are doing. I could not be more proud of the providers that we have and their dedication to our citizens and visitors.
Yeah, I was thinking about the other day, I would like for our citizens to get back into more of a mindset like we had when we had an all-volunteer rescue squad. You know, donation, I mean, just the whole mindset of it.
And that seems to be happening more and more.
It does seem to be happening, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we're planning on that, and we're very excited, by the way, and just thank you to the board for your support and for county administration. That building's going to be very nice. I have no complaints with it. We're very blessed to have it, and our folks are really looking forward to move-in day. Maybe not the move itself, but move in and being on the new premises. So thank you from Noah and myself on that.
Anything else for Gavin? Gavin, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Greg Cave.
All right, so calls usually die down this time of year. However, that's not the case. We've had 40% increase calls handled in person. We had about the same handled by phone, and after-hour emergency calls have doubled to 22 calls. We did meet with Greene County Sheriff's Office, Animal Control, regarding animal control, shelter operations, and discussed the increased calls and rescue contacts during a large seizure. I believe at one time they were thinking about taking over their animal shelter, which I think they have a change of heart now. And then, like Annette said, we did have 3 animals removed from a property. There was 2 donkeys and a goat. Since they were livestock, we did have to consult with Dr. Songer at the VDAX to seek approval, and they were all adopted by the 2 individuals that were caring for all the animals. And other than that, that's all my report. I would like to let the board know the radios are working great. I can speak for for me, they, the coverage is 10 times better. Thank you, Brian. Really appreciate it. We don't have that busy signal where they wouldn't go through anymore, but.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Any questions for Greg? Greg, thank you. Jamie Wilkes.
Well, good afternoon. I'll start with E&S. Joe's been busy staying up on the active projects, and his monthly DEQ report is submitted in your packet. Zoning-wise, our new zoning administrator, Alan, is acclimating more and more each day. He's learning the different routines, working with the public well, the staff, and all our partner agencies, because there's so much involved in that. As a matter of fact, Alan and Janet, yesterday and today, are in Charlottesville for the VAZO training, a Virginia Association of Zoning Officials, mandatory training. And he also has a report that's been submitted, just kind of general outline what's going on in zoning, including the comp plan. And in the building department, we're just staying steady. You know, I don't know what it is, the last few months, number of new dwellings has picked up for some reason. Of course, we're working in Tyler, and this one's exciting for me. The building department, the entire staff is fully certified, so we have a fully certified building department. And that doesn't happen often in the state. You know, it's a lot of work, a lot of dedication by the different people in our office, but they're fully certified. And zoning's working on theirs, but that's a funny deal. So they've started, and it takes a little while to get theirs. And let's see. I ran a quick thing before I came over. Now that we're in Tyler, the old system, whatever it was, RDA, we couldn't really track anything. And since we've gone live, I just ran a quick report. We've done 572 inspections. And I think we went live around July or so. And probably, when we first went live, most of them were in the old system. Now most of them, the inspections we're doing are transitioned over. The old system is just timing out. So as we go on, we can have, better data for you with inspections. And of course, I've submitted the report from Tyler in there, and it's pretty detailed. And that's pretty much it, unless you have any questions.
No. The only comment I got, going through the comp plan last night, it was pointed out that we had data that was all tied to different permitting. And the question, and I'm sure Alan's going to come to you with it, is trying to differentiate between new home buildings and other permits and inspections that are ongoing, and trying to clarify that language. But it seemed like it was interesting to see how Alan was interpreting it and how we incorporated it into the comp plan.
Yeah, I mean, that's the advantage of the Tyler system. We can look at that. The old system, there is no data to be had, unless you want someone to spend days and days going through paperwork, which we don't have the time to do.
Absolutely. Anybody else have anything for Jamie? Jamie, thank you. Livingston.
Hello, everyone. That's what Jamie was just saying. We're working on Tyler also. Our group is rolling into the time and attendance and trying to use it to schedule our time and all that. I don't know how many other folks are doing it yet, but we're getting up to speed on that. And the big thing we've been working with Tyler on this week is trying to get remote access from your internet connection at home so that you don't have to be in here to work on your timesheet. And that's becoming a bit of a challenge, and it's not just us. I find it odd that a company as big as Tyler has not fixed this a long time ago, or maybe, I really believe the left hand don't talk to the right hand. But anyway, we'll get there. It's just that we got to go at their pace and just keep being available for them at all times. So the other thing with Tyler is November the 30th, somebody ran a module update in the middle of the night. And the good news is our antivirus protector, Sentinel-1, was like the Iron Dome. It just shot those files down because it seen them as a threat. So it ruined their module update, but unfortunately it knocked Tyler offline for a day. Now, I'm still doing the postmortem. There's a lot went on, a lot of weird things happened, so I'll be submitting that to Jonathan and to the Tyler people once I've got but I want to make sure that they never do anything like that again on the weekend without telling us. So anyway, we're back. We learned. We're going to put some things in place to keep that from happening again. We went out, did the walkthrough for the EMS new building. We're just waiting for the wiring and the patch panels and all that stuff to get in. And then we're going to throw our access points in. Comcast has us on their schedule. I think they'll probably be in there within the next 7 to 10 days to install that. Then when they do that, we'll put all the network gear in, put the firewall in, and set up our VPN and get that building online. And VPN's having a problem with time and attendance for Gavin also, but getting through the VPN. So we're getting ready and as prepared as we can. Before, so as soon as we get the go-ahead, we can just swoop in there and get that installed, tested, and up and running. Laserfish, Alan is doing an outstanding job on Laserfish. I don't know where that boy gets it, but he has really dove in deep and carved up all the problems we had with it, and we're ready to go live with it. It's just a question of getting people trained, getting in there with their documents, finding a point of contact in their departments and working with them to start rolling things into it. We do got some space allocation that we've got to reconfigure on our storage. They call it a SAN, it's a storage network. We're gonna have to go in there. It's fragmented, not really because the system did it, it's fragmented because it's just not been worked by us to keep the space. Over time, we're gonna consolidate that, get rid of the fragment, and it'll save us a bunch of space, and then we can really start rolling with Laserfish. That's about the last thing we're gonna need to do with Laserfish. And of course, we're working on the Geocom with the Motorola people and the Geocom people, and we've been going back and forth with them, trying to get them connected, and the guys coming on site next Monday. We're ready to meet with them and get that done. So that's about the highlights. We're running a bunch of tickets all day long, every day.
Good.
And having fun.
Anybody have any questions for Livingston? Please, by all means.
Bruce, how is the ticketing system working as far as versus the old way you used to do business?
It's working good. We've got people are submitting their tickets through it now, and when they don't, we do. We probably don't get in there and update it as much as we need to, but we do try to get together once a week and go through all of the tickets and make sure what's still outstanding, what's been done, and then we update it. But for the most part, it's working fine.
Okay. The remote access for Tyler, is that require VPN?
No. That's what we're trying to avoid. I mean, we could get people set up. There's really only a handful of folks, 10 people maybe, that need to get to it remotely. Is it more than that? Yeah, and that would be a major pain, but we could give them all VPN, they'd get right to it. But right now we are waiting for Tyler to make the miracle happen. And they have so far, like I said, a company the size of Tyler, you would think that they would have this. It would either be, oh, yeah, we know how to fix that, or, oh, no, we can't do that. But they're really in there banging away at it. I mean, they're working on it all day long. And why this hasn't come up in the past with Tyler, I have no idea. Because everybody that's doing time and attendance has to be internal, has to be on a county machine to get to it. And they're not saying we can't come in remotely without a VPN. They just haven't hit the right coding or whatever they're trying to fix. So
it's interesting you talk about the update problem. Microsoft pushed out an update for Windows and Office last week. And if you're running the 16 version, in Excel, it disabled all analytical tools. Nice. It did that to me in the middle of the workday. Wonderful. And they're not going to have an update to fix it until the end of December.
Oh, nice.
So I don't know. I guess we're all just on Office 365 here in the county, correct?
Yes.
Well, then good. You won't have to run into that.
Yeah, I don't know. You'd think that somebody doing those updates would at least have some sort of a sandbox or something to, I mean, it's Microsoft. I guess they
Yeah,
do
it is
they do what
Microsoft.
they
That's a
want.
problem.
You know, they do what they want. So,
Anyway.
and they'll steal your house from you too.
It sounds like you are doing a good job, Bruce. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
All right. Any other questions for Livingston? Livingston, thank you. All right, let's go to Ms. Shepherd. Ms. Shepherd, are you with us?
Hi. Yes, can you hear me?
Livingston's going to turn it up. Hold on, Ms. Shepherd.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, try it again. All right, let's try it. Ms. Shepherd, how are we doing?
Hi, I'm doing good. Can you hear me?
Good. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. So good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I appreciate you allowing me to be virtual tonight. I had a bit of a conflict. But I'll go ahead and get started with the quarterly presentation. On the first slide, we have our preliminary engineering updates. Here we go. The first project I'd like to mention is Route 656 Courtney Hollow Lane over Polecat Branch. This is a bridge superstructure replacement. And I'm actually going to move this to a different part of the presentation in the future because this project is not going to advertisement to be done by contractors. This is actually a state forest bridge project, and we expect construction to begin in spring of 2025. Another thing to note on this slide, Emmett Road, our rustic, is complete. Whipple Road is still under construction. We've replaced all the pipes and added stone. We're going to let that settle over the winter, come back, redress it up with stone, and pave it. So any settling we'll have over the winter, we can remedy that. But we just ran out of time this construction season to get that one paved this year. On to the next slide. Our Route 29 Shelby Arcot project is complete. We also have ongoing the Route 707 Pine Hill Road Bridge project. Construction is underway on both bridges. We have a temporary access road in place for the first bridge, and the second bridge is phased to maintain traffic. The project is on schedule, and expected completion is December of 2025. My next slide is our traffic engineering request updates. There was a request for a speed study on Pentland Road that is complete. The speed limit was found to be more suited to be around 40 miles an hour, so those speed limit signs will be changed. Sign plan is complete, but the installation is not yet, but that road will be posted at 40 miles an hour. We had an intersection review, a safety intersection review for Oak Park Road, O'Neill's Road, and Carpenter's Mill Road. That study is complete, and in just a couple minutes, I'll go over the results of that. And then last, the other intersection safety review, Repton Mill Road, 230, 616, and 616 Good Hope Church. That review is still in progress. I hope to have that in the next couple weeks to share with the board. Before I talk a little bit more about that speed limit study for Etland Road and the intersection, the results of the intersection safety review for Oak Park Road and O'Neill's Road, I'd just like to mention two things that were brought up at the last board meeting. The first is the culvert near Heartland Hall that we replaced. We did have that on our schedule to make a repair. The repair has been completed to the patch, which the crew is going to return in the spring to add hot mix for a permanent repair. So that's still in progress, but hopefully it's better than it was. And this slide up that you see right here, I wanted to comment on a practice that we do to prepare roads for the next year's paving schedule. I think Supervisor Jackson, you had mentioned at the last meeting that there were several roads that appeared to have a poor patching job or poor paving job. And so I just wanted to show a couple pictures of a standard practice we do, which is patching by our state force crews, and they use a rotor grader. So they, while they're not the most aesthetically pleasing, paving operation, our goal is to come in and add asphalt to locations that need it, and then the next year we come back and resurface. So you don't see those patches, you don't feel those patches, but they're to build up the structural integrity. So I did want to mention that, show a couple examples, as you can see on the screen. We get complaints about this operation a lot, just because it's a phased approach that we have to come in, prepare the road, and then we come back at a later date, usually the following year, and we resurface, and then you can't even see it. So I did want to mention that, and if there's any questions, feel free to ask. But I did want to go into the speed study results, and I wanted to show this because, is that up on the screen?
Yes. Yeah, the Etland Road. Yeah, that slides on the screen.
Yes. So I just wanted to bring this up. I know we're still having conversations about how to document a process for speed study requests that come in, but I just kind of wanted to show this, which is the result of what we do once we have a formal request and decide to proceed with that study. We start off with a location map, and we identify the locations for our counters to count the traffic and the speed. And if you scroll down, then there's some analysis that goes along with it. We look at the results of that data collection. We look at the 85th percentile speed, the average speed, the daily traffic counts as part of that. We also look at the crash data. So as you can see from the analysis for Etland, there have been a total of 3 crashes with no fatalities. It includes 2 run off the road and 1 angle crash that resulted in property damage. And based on the speed, the roadway characteristics, crash history, and roadside activities, the speed limit is recommended to be lowered to 44 miles an hour. And then the last page, if you scroll down, there's a crash analysis, and this is another tool that we use. Once we get the crash data for that road, we have statistics that we compare it to. In this case, it was compared to the district-wide average rates for rural minor collectors, which is the same functional classification as Etland Road. And as you can see, the 3 crashes had a rate of 165-ish per 100 million vehicle miles traveled. The crash rate for the district average was 173. But then when you look at the injury and the fatality crash or injury and fatality rates, those obviously 0 are great in comparison to our district-wide average. So I just wanted to share that with you for when we have future requests for speed studies and kind of what that looks like on our end. And then the next thing, or the last thing I wanted to discuss is the results of the intersection safety review for Oak Park Road, O'Neill's Road, and Carpenter's Mill. Is that up on the screen?
Sort of.
Yeah, I want to see the conclusion.
All right. Yeah, all right. It's on there. Let's go with it.
Okay. So we looked at the crash. We looked at the existing conditions. We looked at what signs are already out there, what pavement markings are already out there. There's a couple pictures in the report might be undersized, and there's also graffiti on it, which could attribute to lack of visibility. Also looked at the crash history. There were 3 angle crashes consisting of 1 property damage and 2 visible injury crashes at the intersection in a 3-year period. We considered it always stop, but because of the crash data that we had and also the availability of sight distance, we didn't have warrants to meet an all-stop condition. However, we did recommend that the current stop sign be replaced with a brand new stop sign that's oversized, so a larger sign be put in place. Also, we'll add vertical reflective strip tape on the actual post, which also helps with visibility, and also install intersection warning signs on the northbound approach to 616, and also a vertical reflective strip on the other sign post on 626 to enhance visibility of that sign.
Yeah, that's what the conclusion record. There you go.
And that is the end of my formal presentation. I will take any questions and comments.
There you go.
All right, anybody who has comments and questions for Ms. Shepherd? You have comments and questions over here?
No, not yet.
Bigger sign's good. Yeah, that's a start.
Yeah, bigger sign's good.
Yeah, a little bit more.
Start.
All right, anybody else? Anybody? What do y'all think? Yeah, that's good. All right, comment on Heartland Hall, please.
So the patching to the 614 at Heartland Hall has improved it, but certainly looking forward to the permanent solution in the spring.
Anybody else have anything for Ms. Shepherd?
Well, yeah, I've just got Ms. Shepherd. This is Cardi. Thanks for you and the crew coming out to Ducard on Friday. I was frozen by the time I got back into my vehicle, but I appreciate everybody standing out there. It was miserable, and I appreciate the fact that everybody was going to work on some options to fix that situation up there, because it is a commercial entrance. Ducard is a sizable vineyard and got a sizable business going up there now. So I appreciate that. Now, back to Oak Park, O'Neill's, and Carpenter's Mill. I guess that's about all we can do. If people would pay attention and observe the signs and all that are there, we'd be okay. But you don't. And that intersection has been a dangerous one since I was a kid, and I don't know what else can be done.
Would this be a location if the condition continues to put in potentially the flashing lights, Ms. Shepherd?
I'm sorry, one more time?
You have at Pratt's.
Oh, if we could put in flashing stop signs?
Sure.
It's something that we can look at. Our thought process was to start with this solution and see what kind of an effect that has on safety. And if we need to look at other countermeasures, we can certainly do that.
All right.
Traffic circle.
Good Lord, we can't get the one in Pratt's done. They just got the R cut. I haven't heard anybody yell at me about that yet, so that's a win.
Oh, I've been yelled at on that one.
Thank you.
That's okay.
All right. We'll talk to you in the new year. Thank you, Ms. Shepherd.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. All right. All right. Consent agenda. We've got minutes from 11/26/2024, and then we have a supplemental appropriation number 12, which is EMS donations for a sum of $10,810. Anybody have any questions on these items? What would you like to do with the consent agenda?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
A second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. Mr. Weekly, talk to us about the budget calendar.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. You may recall we circulated a draft calendar. Thank you, Ms. Warren, for capturing everything. We asked for the board to consider it, make any comments you may have in advance or today, and recommend approving or adopting the calendar today. There is one change to make the board aware of since last time. Originally, the school budget presentation was, I think, mid-March. During the joint CIP meeting, discussion was had with the schools, which led to staff have internal discussions with the finance director and the superintendent of schools to encourage them to move that date up to February 27th. I was not at their meeting last night. I think they were planning on talking about that, but that has been communicated for their time slot. We did talk to them about the public hearing / public budget adoption. As you know, though, the schools are their own government entity. They set their own schedules and public hearings. So, but that was the only change from what you had at the last meeting is the February 27th budget work session with the schools.
Any questions on this? I talked to last night, we had the comp plan review. I tried to watch it. Their sound doesn't work on their stream. Talked to Anna Graham today. She said that the school board's priorities were some type of raise for teachers in combination with what the state has with their biannual 3% budget recommendation, and then also to cover some insurance. And on top of that was to cover the CIP needs, which are right now somewhere, 1.3 and a half or something million. It'll go up, but that's where their direction is today. Their public hearing they're going to do earlier, went back and looked at historics. The comment was they want to get public comment before they get too far into the budget. So they're going to do the same thing. But that is kind of the direction that they were talking about last night.
Mr. Chairman, one thing to add, I did cover this at the last meeting, but I just think it's worth noting again. Built in this budget, you'll see two dates, April 22nd and May 7th. So we have, over the last several years, you have your public hearing and voted that night to adopt the budget. Weren't sure where you were going to be at, so we built in that May 7th date. Had good all right, Mr. Daniel left. We've had good conversation with both the treasurer and the commissioner about what would that May 7th date be for them, the meeting the deadline. As you know, taxes are due, I think it's June 5th as the deadline. So what they have communicated to my office was if the board chose as they move along for that May 7th adoption, they would like to have, I believe it's June 20th. You have in the past, and you have the right, if you want to extend the deadline, you can do that by vote. I think it's early, but I just wanted to point out we have left that option 1, option 2 kind of built in. So as you go along, if you feel like you're ready on the 22nd, you can do it that night, or you can take the May 7th date.
The May 7th being the joint meeting with the Planning Commission.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
But it is fair to say the public
We've already
hearing
had
would
the
still
public
be the
hearing.
April 22nd.
Right. I think we should have that extension ready to go no matter what. I think it gives everybody a little bit of breathing room. There's no reason not to do that extension. It's minimal, and it really will not affect the direction that we go with the budget anyway.
Are you're saying if we choose the May 7th date?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Anybody else, anything on this calendar? Probably need a motion to accept this FY26 budget calendar.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, Gavin, come tell us about the emergency operation plan. It was good reading. Looks like a lot of fun to put together.
It'll definitely help you sleep.
All right,
I broke it. Let's go with that. Are y'all able to hear me
Oh,
on
yeah,
the
we got
microphone there? Okay. So, just a little bit of history for emergency operations plan. Every 4 years, we must update and then have it adopted by the Board of Supervisors. In addition, there's an annual update that has to be done in between. What we have here for you tonight is that 4-year EOP update that we'll need a Board of Supervisors approval on to adopt. Should you do that, there's another document, letter of promulgation, that Administrator Weekly would sign on that, and they would all be incorporated into the emergency operations plan. As far as just a general idea of what was updated this year, the format has not changed, although we did update some of the fonts and to make it easier to read in certain areas and consistency. We included all the documents into one document, where before we had every different section was a different PDF. So now it's all under one. And then we'll be able to break that out into a secondary one, which will just be the basic plan, and that'll be put on our website so that you don't need to FOIA, they can just download what they need on that. The other things that I just trying to think if there was anything really major, just updating any contacts that have changed, any department things that have changed. For instance, the fire department added a vehicle. And so we updated the EOP to show that. along those types of lines. If it's personnel related or what have you, those things are updated. So nothing super significant this year whatsoever. I'm happy to answer any questions on any
Questions
specifics.
from anybody? Ryan, you got a comment on anybody have any questions on this?
So is there any Code of Virginia references
There
in
will
this?
be throughout the document.
Yeah.
There are some
Okay.
that are referenced. There's not a lot of them. I mentioned this to Mr. Weekly earlier this evening. I did contact VDOM and asked them if they needed a copy to approve prior to tonight. They said they did not. And I told them, I said, it's basically the exact same one as 4 years ago. We are looking at making some changes next year, which will be significant in terms of format and more reflective of a small rural community than the one-size-fits-all approach, which is what the current one is on that. But
Now, would the shift on that be an internal shift from one size fits all to a smaller rural, or is that coming from the state level?
it's an opportunity, or it's an option that we have. So I think it's called Lifelines. So it's a little bit different than using all the, you probably saw all the ESFs and annexes and all that. It'll have all that information, but it'll be configured in a different way. When you look at what we have now, if we were to have a major event, it's assuming that we would have 2 or 3 people from every department as part of that emergency operations center, so that we could have 8-hour operational cycles, or a couple people for 12-hour operational cycles. Kind of like what we were during the Quaker Run fire, where we were basically 24/7 on that particular event. The Lifeline style basically puts it in a format that's realistic of who's going to actually be there if we have to stand up an emergency operations center. What resources are we truly going to have? And who are we going to have to call to fill in that gap? Much like the Gold Team came in during the Quaker Run fire for the national park, and then they were able to basically staff all those positions and make sure that everything was covered and what have you.
They were inspirational. All right, what would y'all like to do? We have a resolution 2024-18 to adopt this the 2024 EOP plan. What would y'all like to do?
Let's see. Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt Resolution 2024-18 to update and readopt the Madison All Houses Emergency Operations Plan.
A second.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Gavin, thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
All right. Mr. Weekly, 1224 board meeting.
Yes, as you know, the Board of Supervisors establishes their calendars, generally done at the beginning of the year, it's your organizational meeting. And we look at whatever county holidays or state holidays may follow, and occasionally, if there are conflicts or potential, let me use the word potential, we bring that to the board's attention to discuss and consider. Your second meeting falls on 12/24. I believe that is scheduled as a half-day closure here at the county, but certainly the board could keep that date if they should choose, and we would have your meeting. I know I discussed this with the chairman. He may have an additional option for the board to consider, but staff stands ready to facilitate whatever you choose.
The 23rd, which would be the Monday, with the caveat if we don't have any business, that we can cancel it at the last minute. That gives us an option if anything comes up. We can address it prior to Christmas and everybody vacationing. Chances are we're probably going to cancel the thing and be okay. Does that work for everybody? I think that gives us plenty of time to advertise. We go through the process. That's that. Does that work?
Yes, sir, and I think I want to bring legal on this. To do that would be an official vote to move that meeting, and then we would do the advertisement based on their vote. To move the December 24th meeting to December 23rd? Yeah. Because they can reserve the cancel at a later date.
All right. Is everybody receptive on doing a meeting on the 23rd? All right. Probably need, yep, please.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we reschedule the second regular meeting of December from 12/24 to 12/23, 2024.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank
Ms.
you, sir.
Ms. Turner, tell us about this list and the handout you've given us with committee board updates.
Okay, so there are a lot of terms that end at the end of the year. Before you, you see the ones for just residents, not staff and board members. You'll see that at your organization meeting. So I'm going to go through the packet that you received. So for the Economic Development Committee, you have Zachary Whitman and Jim Smith, whose terms expire at the end of the year. Mr. Smith is willing to serve again, and Mr. Whitman would like to not serve again. So you have an opening there for that committee. And then for the Electoral Board, this is more just for information. Mr. Sharman, I apologize if I say that wrong, his term is ending, but that is something that the registrar will let us know who is appointed for that. So I'll keep you posted. We talked this week, and she hadn't been told yet, so waiting for that information. For the Preliminary Development Review Committee, or PDRC, Mr. Whitman is currently the only resident on that committee. He was a citizen representative. He would like to continue that. For the Blue Ridge Committee for Shenandoah National Park Relations, you have Bruce Bowman and James Ballard as the alternate. They would like to continue that and use this year as time to recruit and build somebody up to fill the roles for the following year. In Compass Community Supports, you have Miss Berry. Miss Berry would like to serve again. For Parks and Rec, you had 3 terms that were ending. Kendall Fears would not like to return, but Mr. Frazier and Mr. Carter would like to return. In your paper packet, you will see the 2 applications that should also be in the packet. These are the 2 applications to potentially fill Ms. Fears' position. Staff feel good about both applications. Then for the Rappahannock Juvenile Detention Commission, Nan Coppich, she serves in an alternate position, and she's willing to continue that the following year. For Skyline Community Action Partnership, I will say that originally when I posted the packet, I hadn't heard from Mr. Work yet, but I've heard from him since then, and he is agreement to serve again the following year. So that is all I have.
Well, that's a DEQ, Cordy. That's different
Yeah,
than
that's
what we're talking about.
I hit the wrong button over here.
All right, here's my plan. I think everybody that wants, unless everybody's got conflict with, I think everybody that wants to be reappointed, we should go ahead and reappoint this evening. Does that work for everybody?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna go to Mr. Jewett. Would you rather recruit or would you rather advertise for economic development, Mr. Jewett?
I think I'd like to advertise.
All right, let's do that. I don't think we need a motion for that either, do we? No. Let's, if nobody has any issue, let's advertise. When can you get an advertisement up, Ms. Turner? Pretty promptly? Put it on RAP.
Where all do you want to advertise?
Put it on the RAP and then on the county website.
Okay, county website tomorrow, and I'll reach out to Chuck about
That's great.
getting that up.
Why don't we close that December 31st? And then my recommendation on Parks and Rec, we do have 2 applicants. I don't know either of them. Parks and Rec says both of them have vested interest in Hoover Ridge and the park. Would y'all be receptive to interview them at our first meeting in January? Not the organizational meeting, but the regular meeting, the second Tuesday. Does that work for everybody?
Yeah, we could.
PRA to replace for the replacement of Ms. Fears.
Okay, that makes sense. I'm looking at the list and I'm like, but I'm tracking, sir.
All right, so we're gonna advertise, we're gonna, and I'll throw back, we would like to talk, I think I'd like to talk to, whoever's in the board. Let's interview for Zach Whitman's, position. Hopefully we get some applicants. And we do that at that first meeting as well. Does that seem reasonable? You have grievances?
No, I was just gonna ask Jim, if I'm talking to somebody and they would like, is the Economic Development Committee, I've forgotten it. Is that gonna end is that got a drop dead date on it, or?
Not necessarily, but the initial work will probably, right now, we've been meeting on a monthly basis.
Uh-huh.
Once the plan is completed, we will not need to meet on a monthly basis, but we should meet on a continuous basis to just update.
Your plan at this point pertaining to Economic Development Committee is you're doing your survey the middle of January, and then a report coming to us hopefully middle of February.
Yes.
Okay.
It's basically gonna, the report's basically is done, but we wanna get that survey out, and we didn't wanna do it during holiday season. So what we're gonna do is send it out first of January or first part of January. We're gonna follow up to try to get a really good response rate, and then we'll incorporate that into the final report.
Good. Got anything else on that one?
No.
All right.
I couldn't remember whether that was one of those committees where we have a start and end date or
Well, the
what,
board
but.
can decide after the report's in, well, we don't want to do this.
Okay,
anymore,
yeah,
Or you might want to do a yearly thing or something like that. That's just how I would envision this would work best. Would you agree, Judd?
Yeah.
All right.
Once report is in, though, where do we go from there? What's the board gonna do? Like,
Well, the
whoever we
board-
bring in, are they gonna help develop more business or come up with ideas?
Well, when we submit the report, it'll have some recommendations, and the board will discuss it, and we'll move on from there.
Yeah.
It's kind of more of a starting point than it is an ending point, I think.
Good. Look forward to seeing a report. All right, if the plan sounds all right, we probably need a motion to reappoint everybody that is staying or continuing their service on these committees and boards.
We're gonna do it one fell swoop.
Yeah, one fell
So
swoop.
moved.
That's the way. Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. You're gonna notify some people? Yes. Thank you, ma'am. All right. Starlink donation. Mr. Gordon?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was contacted initially on July 31st back in the summer by the Robinson Rose Community Alliance about the possibility of donating Starlink resources to the emergency management team. I've been talking with Ms. Gary on and off since then. What she's offering is the Rose River Alliance to donate to us in the sum of $4,738 to cover 2 dishes for Wi-Fi connectivity for emergency management on scene, and that also includes the first 12 months of service. Additionally, she has advised that if things go as planned and they think it works as well as they think it could, that they would pay about a quarter of the subscription moving forward. I believe for 4 years. I think that's what it said. Yeah, 4 years. So that's what we have in front of us. It's a really good deal. One thing we ran into last year at the Quaker Run Fire, especially before we got the large cow in place from Verizon, Cell on Wheels as it's called, we had a really big problem with connectivity. Now, the big thing about the Verizon cow or any AT&T, any of those folks, is it's all predicated on availability. We got really lucky last year in the fact that we were the first fire to start. After that, we had several fires break out in Southwest Virginia. That thing may or may not have been available. Same thing with most of our threats in this area are flooding, fire, windstorms, all of which are widespread and could affect multiple different jurisdictions. I think this is a good thing. It would also give us an opportunity to potentially downsize our sat phone because the sat phones are suspect at best, whereas this will be very reliable based on the conversation I've had with people that have them.
Our tower that we have now going up in that window, is that different than our needs that you're talking about having the satellite?
What we have built here is purely LMR, land mobile radio. It has no Wi-Fi capability at all. It is purely to communicate between first responders and the communication center.
Okay. And so what's the purpose of these satellites?
This would give us the ability to use your cell phones to call by Wi-Fi, to use the internet for notifications, to update web EOC during an emergency, whereas last year we were having to, at least initially, come out of the fire scene, update everything online, and then go back.
Is that our only problem up in that section of the?
Yeah. I mean, there are some areas, you take the Tatum School area, you get down in that where it's kind of a void between Orange Green and Madison. You have some issues down there, but primarily 231 North, Edlin, Banco, Haywood, Ayler, those areas are the ones where you don't have a whole lot.
And if we get wireless on this tower, which we're not saying we are yet or not.
Right.
In that lane, would that cover Banco and up in that area or not?
Very unlikely because cell phone towers only have a very limited umbrella. It's a lot different radio wave than what we use for LMR. It does not, you're looking at maybe a quarter mile for really good service and sketchy service out to about a mile and a half. That's why you see them daisy chain on 29.
Very generous of them.
Yeah.
So Brian, let me ask, so these are portable dishes?
Correct.
That when they're not being used, they're gonna, sit in a closet somewhere or sit, Gavin will have them or somebody will have them sitting there waiting to be used?
Correct. The plan would be to put one in Gavin's vehicle, one in my vehicle, and we could spread out if we needed to. We will also use these things for music festivals at Grays Mountain Lodge. We'll use them for events. We may set them up at the tractor pull even. Although we do have connectivity for cell phones at the tractor pull and the fairgrounds, when you put that many people in one spot, it sucks up bandwidth pretty quick. Whereas we could lock these down and have what we needed guaranteed. Yes.
They are being modeled.
And I would strongly discourage that because of the terrain we go into and getting them knocked off. But that's just my 2 cents. We can talk about that later.
Yeah, they can be mounted, they can be in a Pelican case, any of that. But to Brian's point, this could replace the sat phone. So you already have that need, but it could replace that. And for those who went up to the command post during the wildfire, you saw that big contraption, the sat cow. Well, this would help. It would not be to that extent, but it would give us the coverage that we need. There's a lot of communication, whether it's DOF or some of these other agencies, mapping. So it's beyond a cell phone. It will allow you to call that way, but it's more about communications and updates.
Connectivity during the fire was terrible until we got that thing from Verizon. And just being able to get out of there, it's like you're on an island. Once Verizon came in and we could connect, it made a world of difference.
Now, I will say, once we expand to that level, you're talking about a couple hundred people. These 2 dishes are not going to cover that, but we could lock it down to command staff and ICs and make sure.
Sorry to drag this on, but.
No, you're fine.
Up against that mountain, though, they have a hard time. I know people up there get Starlink, they don't get coverage. So you still have to back off that mountain a little bit to get to satellite?
Depending on where the southern sky is, depending on which valley you're in. And yes, you're exactly right. It's no different than what's the Sirius radio. Once you go up in some of these places, you lose it. Starlink's a little bit different technology. They have a lot more bandwidth, a lot more stuff cruising around up there. Exactly.
Not to sound cynical by any means, but I assume that this alliance's motivation is altruistic. They're going for the good.
Well, you're really going down the right path. I'm on there. Please, you're very articulate. Please keep going, Jim.
I'm just curious because this is the first I've heard of it. Or is there some?
If this is solely in.
Mr. Jewett, just to clarify, I was contacted on this about July 31st. So hopefully that.
I think what was the driver factor? We went up there after those March heavy winds and fires we had. There's a lot of concern up in that community, and during that review of that community, this dialogue occurred.
All right, I think the question is whether or not we're going to accept this donation, and then we will end up having to set up our own county Starlink
Yeah,
account.
and that's my primary reason for being here. We're going to set up our own account, and eventually this will mean spending county dollars to fulfill this.
150 a month or something.
Yeah, I think 150, 120 is what I think it is. Yeah. I think this is just like a donation to the rescue squad or EMS, excuse me. If this is genuinely that kind of thing pertaining to public safety, then I think it's something everybody should be behind, and we should thank them for it. That is what it is. What would y'all like to do?
So, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So staff recommends that.
I think this is going to be really advantageous for us to have these.
And I would just state, if you're gonna entertain a motion, I would recommend that, that motion be something to the effect that the Board of Supervisors accepts the presented donation and authorizes staff to engage with the nonprofit. And we can take it from there, whether it's supplemental appropriations or however that's covered.
Mr. Chairman, I move we accept this generous donation and let the staff work with the Garys to make this happen.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Any discussion? Information and correspondence?
Oh, yeah, I got one quick thing. Last night, after the meeting on the comp plan, I remember the survey that went out, that we collected data to help formulate some of the comp plan. It was suggested way back in the day, right from the get-go, that survey be an appendix to the comp plan.
Is this good?
Now, I thought maybe that was a good idea at first. Now I don't know so much, so I just wanted to, we don't have to decide, now anything, but y'all think about that, whether we would want that as an appendix to the comp plan.
How successful was the survey?
We had, about 175 respondents?
Yeah, it was called a success. I mean, I think if you're comparing it to the 2019 survey, there were more responses. Now, if you're looking at it from another analytical view, if we have this many residents, you only have 100, well, that looks like poor participation. The prior county planner felt like this was an increase from the survey of 2019.
We didn't think much of him. Sorry, it's just the way it is. The survey looks, the planning commission is doing, they're doing a good job going through the whole comp plan. I think it's real important that you bring it up. Let's go on all the way through the thing, get a finalized document, and then we can determine whether or not we see that appendix as a necessity to be part of the comp plan.
Yeah,
The survey itself, I think, well, I'll send you all code citation. I looked last night. I don't know if it says you have to include, I know a survey is a requirement to do. It's just a question, does the state code require you to include it? But you have completed it, so at least you can check that box.
Right. Do you all have you got the survey? The why we might not is, it's nothing that I think all of us don't already know in a lot of cases. But it is the spoken word from our constituents, as opposed to just me saying, this is.
The reason I asked about what they determine the quality of the survey is because you don't want to include the survey if it's really bad. And then they're going to say, well, you did the whole comprehensive plan based on 10 responses or 50. I understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah. So.
I mean, we probably should, since the code says that we do a survey, well, it's transparent to give the results.
I'm sure I've got the survey electronically. Have y'all got it?
Send it to us all, please. We really appreciate it. I don't know if we have to include all of it in there. What I remember is that it's the stuff that, frankly, this board, we hear pretty often. Right. And frankly, a lot of it is stuff we all sympathize with. In the grand scheme of things, if we had some kind of summation or something to put in there, that would be, I think, would be very good. I do think we should have Hannon look at the comp plan and the code pertaining to what we do have to include and not include. The one, and I'm going off track a little bit, the one that it does appear that we need to revisit, and we probably should task the Planning Commission with working on as part of the comp plan, is the Route 29 corridor study. Kevin McGee did a great job on it years ago, but it is a document that does need to be updated at this point.
But it's not gonna, we're gonna try to approve the comp plan before that
sir. Yes,
gets updated.
Yes, sir. That took months to do.
Oh, yeah,
before.
yeah, that's.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But
And
it's an appendix of the comp plan as well.
And it's, yeah, I mean, I'm saying that ought to go in as an appendix, and the utility corridor as an appendix, just like it is now.
100%. And then we
revisit it.
Absolutely. Let's see what the
That was a
survey,
big
let's review survey stuff, and then we can kind of determine, and then let planning commission go through and see what recommendations they make as well. Does that work? Other discussion?
Just one point, from the resolution to move the December 24th meeting, we're gonna have a written resolution reflecting that for your signature.
And I'm gonna ask Kim to go print that here momentarily.
Yeah, perfect. All right, public comment.
Sorry, last point.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
DCL, as you forward that, to avoid a public meeting, since it's to all board members, do so without commentary.
Yeah.
Don't
Just
respond to this
attached.
email. Respond separately or whatever we do. Anything else?
No.
All right, public comment. Anyone watching us? Looks like no. Oh, good.
REC.
Good, you guys, happy holidays. No more public comment. We do have a closed session. Thank y'all.
Hey, I move that the board convene in a closed session pursuant to Virginia Code Sections 2.2-3711A1 for personnel.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
That was you, Dustin?
Yes, sir.
Okay.